it's good to think about our fears, because I think fear has a window that allows the opening of trust and faith. When we know that these things are not within our control, we start to think about who has control, who can make it better for us, who can relieve our fears, to whom can we trust. And of course, when we think of those existential questions, the very first one that comes to mind to people of faith like ourselves is that there's God. Hi, this is Father Sunny, and welcome to another dose of Holy. I apologize yesterday. I just completely forgot about it. I guess I was just so busy, and my mind was preoccupied with a lot of things, including the passing of a dear friend, Kinkiki. Her name is Beverly Stukenberg. And so today I want to talk about your greatest fears. Um, Fear is a human reality. It is an experience that we all um, have. We all have all kinds of various fears. Some of them are smaller types of fears that we can easily overcome, and there are some greater fears and real phobias, and some of them are existential in nature. In other words, they really are connecting causing crisis to the deepest core of our reality. And so it is good to name our fears. It's good to know what it is that we're most afraid of. And some of them, when we come to find about it, it's some of them are more practical, like I am terrified, really fearful of snakes, for example. That's one. um, I know of a nun in Florida who is very, very scared of snakes, just like me. And it's sometimes when we are afraid of the same thing, it bonds us together. There's just one of the ways it happens. When we have common fears, those fears have a way of bonding us together. Um, but for example, I have a common fear, like a fear of snakes, or some people have fear of heights. Some people have fear of deep waters, which I also had one time in my life, which I already overcome, I suppose. Some people have fear of strangers, fear of getting sick of COVID, fear of you know, um, and it's also fear of dying, fear of death. And I think some of these things come from the fact that whenever we think of fear, we think of the fact that we there is a certain level of unknown about it, and that unknown causes us to be unsure and out of control, and or unable to control what is out there, what's happening, and that sort of causes fear in each one of us. Um, in my conversations with people about fear, um, I have found two or three most meaningful fears that to me are worth thinking about, worth really looking into and reflecting about. The first fear that I find that's very, very meaningful is a fear of being forgotten. Forgotten in the sense that once we are God in this world, we're also never going to be remembered by anyone, or nobody is ever going to remember us because we don't have any legacy, or we have not made any difference. That's a real fear, and it cuts into the depth of our hearts, because of course, one way or the other, we want to be remembered. One way or the other, we want to leave a legacy, and one way or the other, we would like to have a meaningful life. And when people just forget us when we die, um, that really makes us question: was our life worth living in the end? The other fear that I found that has been quite meaningful is the fear of dying alone. The fear of dying alone. It's a fear that comes in, I think, when we start to question our relationships with other people around us. As a priest, I have seen people that have been buried, and the only person that is there in the funeral home and is myself and the funeral director, and no family, nobody is there. Maybe there's sometimes an attorney that takes care of the estate of that person, but for the most part, nobody is there to really be there to express sorrow for the passing of a loved one, or of that particular person. And that can be sad when we think in terms of people not being there for us on the day of our dying. To die alone can be a real fear. The third fear that I think is meaningful is the fear of losing someone that we really really love. Um, and this is a fear also that I have. I have that fear. In fact, I think about that kind of a fear once in a while. Losing the certain family members that I really hold dear in my heart. I don't know how to prepare for that. If ever I had to lose someone that I really really love to death, I don't know how to prepare for it. Of course, there is part of it that is spiritual and theological, and I'm sure I'm gonna dig deep into all my belief about life and death and dying and the other side of life and all that kind of stuff. But at the end of the day, it is a real fear. I really am terrified about the idea of losing people that I love. So it's good to face our fears. It's good to think about our fears, because I think fear has a window that allows the opening of trust and faith. When we know that these things are not within our control, we start to think about who has control, who can make it better for us, who can relieve our fears, to whom can we trust. And of course, when we think of those existential questions, the very first one that comes to mind to people of faith like ourselves is that there's God. God is the one that we rely on, that God will never leave us, that God will see through the most difficult and challenging times of our lives. And at the end of the day, when we are confronted with our fears, we are being asked then to surrender these to the Lord and let the Lord take care of it and be our strength, our guide, our confidence, and our hope. And so today, as we question all the fears that we have in our own lives, I hope that we can also find the reassurances of faith, hope, and love that comes from the Lord Himself. This is Father Sunny for another dose of Holy, thinking about your greatest fears, our greatest fears. And until tomorrow, God bless you with a happy, healthy, and holy life. Bye.